Ohio State is on the verge of filling its running backs coach vacancy. Carlos Loughlin, Oregon's running backs coach. Ohio State could go from losing its running backs coach to a Big Ten rival to taking one away from, I wouldn't call them a rival, a Big Ten opponent in Oregon. Maybe a rivalry will develop over time. They do play them this season, so another interesting wrinkle to all of this. But Carlos Loughlin, who is relatively new to the coaching profession, frankly, and was not on a name that appeared on a lot of lists, including mine, ours, of the speculative guys that Ohio State might go after, which were usually more established guys or guys who had a more direct Ryan Day or Chip Kelly connection. But they might be getting someone kind of on the rise. And an indication of that is 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, Dan Lanning, Oregon coach, gave this guy a contract extension. So that alone, to me, makes him an intriguing fit, that maybe this is someone that they're getting on the way up in the coaching profession.
I feel very similar to how we were talking about Perry Eliano 2 years ago when he first got here. Young guy, flashed a couple of things, but hadn't really done it consistently at the highest of highest levels. And now it seems like you're about to get your shot to do that in a room where, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins is the top of your room. You like what the future of your room is to some extent with James Peoples, Dallin Hayden, and Sam Williams-Dixon. And then there's like top 100 running backs who seem like they're still very interested, even if Tony Alford left in a situation. So any running back coach would have been walking into a beautiful situation. But for Loughlin, this is Perry Eliano. That's just the name I think of. Now, it didn't pan out, obviously. 2 years later, he ends up not getting an extension and being not fired, but they just didn't retain him. But this concept is still the same. You have a mixture of a roster of older veteran guys who are proven, and you probably just needed a running backs coach who was on the rise. This is probably a perfect fit for Ohio State's, at least in 2024 with this roster, and maybe going forward. It also is the perfect fit when you've got Chip Kelly, you've got Brian Hartline, Brian Hartline's kind of an intermediate guy, but some older guys who have been in here and done it before, and you're mixing that with Keenan Bailey and Loughlin and Justin. I think this is a good mixture of a coaching staff for the offensive side.
Yeah, I don't know if Eliano is the best comp, just because he didn't have any Power 5 experience. At least Loughlin's coming in with a couple of years there, and it's been a couple of productive years. Oregon, I think it was 5.5 yards per carry in 2022. That was 6th in the country. 5.9 yards per carry last year. That was 3rd in the country. You'll see a lot of times reports will say, oh, they ranked this place in the country in rushing yards. I'm like, well, that tells you how much they ran the ball. It doesn't tell you how well they ran the ball. Those other numbers, I think, tell you that Oregon ran the ball very well these last 2 years, and there are other factors involved with that. But Andrew, Ryan Day had, when we talked to him several months ago, maybe it was just a few months ago, time's a flat circle, he said something about how he was talking about how he evaluates assistant coaches, and he put recruiting first. But lately, when we talked to him about replacing Tony Alford as running backs coach, he brought up development very high on that list. And it doesn't look like I couldn't get a great feel for where Loughlin is as far as recruiting. I saw a few successes here and there, but he's only been doing it a couple of years. It seems like maybe on the development side, the production side, there's evidence that he knows what he's doing.
I think that's, it's a fine middle ground, and I think that's where you want to be. He's had some quotes about that. I think one of his quotes was, "I don't recruit stars, I make them," which I did think was really good. But one of the things that when you look at this recruitment or the recruiting for Ohio State, he's going to come into a room and he's just basically got to not crash the plane. You've got Travion Henderson, you've got Quinshon Judkins, you're good. You got Dallin Hayden as your 3. How many running back rooms are better than that in the country? I think we would all say 0. 2025 is where you're going to have to start to see that development kick in, because Henderson will be gone. Maybe Judkins is gone. We can probably assume that. Dallin Hayden, what's going to happen with him? We don't know. Are you starting James Peoples? But then you might, it's a not crazy world to say you have James Peoples and you have Sam Williams-Dixon and then you have Dallin Hayden and those 3. And do you feel good about that? Maybe, but you need to fill out the depth, and you need to start recruiting well. You need to start developing well. Ohio State is after a couple of running backs. They want to bring in at least 2 in this class. Jordan Davison was just right over there a little while ago. Bo Jackson, one of the running backs, no relation. He's a kid from Cleveland. He was he's down at Ohio State for this past weekend. They are interested in a handful of guys. They do want to bring in multiple backs. So whoever, if they do indeed make this hire, he's going to have to hire, or he's going to have to bring in some guys that you can fill out the room with, and you feel really good about filling out the room with for 2025 and beyond, because this depth chart can get a little dicey after 2024 ends. So yeah, for 2024, I mean, you're not really worried. For 2025, there's some work to do.
And I think the transfer portal might have to be involved for 2025 too, just because of how quickly they're going to need someone to come in and be, stable and ready to play at a big time level. But as Ryan Day brought up a few times in this process, because this took a little longer than maybe we were expecting it to. When it first happened, he was talking like, "Oh, we could have someone in by the end of this week," and then a couple more weeks have gone by. But I don't think he's wrong that they didn't need to push this. They didn't need to rush this. Recruiting is kind of in a lull right now as people are doing spring football. There's no transfer portal window open right now. They can take their time, find the guy that they think is the best fit, the right guy, and then move on from there. Get that guy set. He'll be able to be here by the end of the spring if they make the hire this week. I was told it could happen as early as today, and probably actually by the time you're seeing this, it has happened. So I think they took the right process on this. It could have been a distraction. It could have been an interruption to the spring. And instead, they took their time, and time will tell if they found the right guy. We're going to talk a lot more about that on Buckeye Talk and get the text 614-350-3315. News, analysis, updates as soon as it happens from cleveland.com.